2351, and we're going to look at lab assignment 7. It will have two parts. One part is image retouching. So with that said, let us navigate to public folder on a server and grab your lab 7. Right. So let me go lab materials. After I click public, lab materials 2350, and it is lab 7. Go ahead and move your lab 7 to your desktop. Now for these assignments, if you open up, do not rename, you don't have to rename lab 7 because you will not be submitting the folder, you'll be just submitting the files that you will rename and put them in like a one folder. So we'll see what we're going to do, because I really don't want all the files. If you notice, 7A right now has like few images. Kind of you have a basis to look at when I retouched it really quickly, and then 7B has many images. So really for 7A you have 2 images and then to submit, and for 7B you only have 1 document to submit. Okay, so there'll be 3. So you can always, what I would suggest now, because you won't be submitting this folder, you can actually name create another folder inside this one. So let us go ahead and do so. Right click or go file new folder and name it with your last name, because this is the one you'll be submitting. Okay, last name, first name underscore lab 7. Okay, and so that's the one. When we save the files, that's what you're gonna give it. So you can see, if I'm gonna open up those files, those are JPEGs, and I'm just gonna pull them out so you can kind of see, and you can open them up as well. I want it to be smaller file size. So notice that's not my mom, by the way, even though she looks very close to my mom. We did a little bit. Notice it's not like, you can still see, I don't know if you open it, you can still see a little wrinkles, definition. Okay, that's still manageable. Now look at this guy. You know what happens, high school, right? Teenage hormones and zits. So we removed his blemishes. So that's what we're gonna do with those 2 files. I'm gonna work on removing, kind of minimizing the wrinkles on the face here, and then looking at removing the blemishes, right? So go ahead and I would say, first of all, just get your image 1 and then put it in Photoshop so you can open it up, and you can navigate through Bridge as well, which we will do for the 7B part, but this is not necessary for this one. So image 1. Last time we really didn't go into detail about healing brushes. Now if this comes up, this menu, is because we did change our color setting profile last time. Just click OK. I don't know, my old image always opens up, so I'm going to zoom in. One thing we're going to look at is layers. As you know, when you're working with images, you really want to work in a non-constructive way, or always have the original in case something happens and you need it back. So go ahead, show up, make sure you have your layers available. I'm just going to reset my workspace so I can see it. Okay, and what we're going to do, we will duplicate this image. Okay, there's a command for this. It's Command J. I just learned the command. Just click on your layers and then you can do Command J. It will duplicate the image, so we have the original image untouched. Okay, and you notice we cannot select the background because background is locked. So with the layer 1 now created, let's look at our tools that we have. Now several healing brushes. Now try not to do exactly what I'm doing, because some of them won't work and then you have to start over. So your other friend might be history panel, but under the spot healing brush tool you have several things, right? Spot healing brush tool, patch tool, then you have content aware move tool, and then red eye. Obviously she doesn't have red eyes, so we don't have to fix it. Now the first top 3 tools are really dealing with minimizing things. Now the spot healing brush tool, what it does, it allows you to sample an area to select, and it's gonna read the color around it. Now look what happens with it. Sometimes it's not the nicest tool. Look what happens. So I'm just selecting the area I wanted to change. Oh, it actually worked this time. Never mind. See what happens? I just erased some wrinkles. But sometimes, let me see if it's gonna work here. See here what happened on the side? So you need to be careful when you're putting this tool, because what is gonna happen is gonna make it look really blurry, and sometimes it may pull up like the hair. You see it put extra like hairline, like wrinkles in her. So this is the spot. Now to easy change the size of the brush, you can just use left or right bracket on your keyboard. Okay, right bracket just makes it bigger, and left bracket makes it smaller. It's a faster way than going to your brush and adjusting the brush, right? That's better. Now another tool is the healing brush tool, which you've seen with the tree. Healing brush tool allows you to sample an area that you want to copy. So let's say you want to sample from the area that has no wrinkles. So maybe I'm going to go this side first, because this cheek is cleaner. And I want to sample it out. Just be careful where you go with the cursor. And see, it kind of removed the wrinkles for me, right? It's kind of good. Right, now the next one is patch tool, which sometimes it may work best. It allows you to select an area. So let's say I want to select a larger area, like this. I just have to make sure if what I'm selecting, there's actually somewhere to put it, because right now I'm putting it on her nose. You see, I don't want to go, so you kind of want to go a little bit lower, see where it's kind of clean, let go, and it's going to do that for you. Now, if it adds a little bit of darkness, don't add any more circles under the eyes or like dark spots. If it does that, you know, I can always undo step back, which is Command Option Z. So you might have to be careful how you're sampling it. So those are the 3 tools you can use. Now be careful. I will start with the spot healing brush and kind of gently slide over it. Just be careful. When some things weird start happening, you will see it. So go ahead and use the spot healing brush, and make sure you change the sizes of it when you go around. Okay? Now if it's not doing a clear thing on the side on the face with the healing brush, like look what happened to me. See that? That means that tool is not working well on that part. So always undo. Don't do too much with it. Only go simple steps. Okay, this is actually, okay, so this is how much I'm going to go with my spot healing. Only this much. The reason why I'm not going to go here, because it picks up all my color values from the hair. So it's sensitive. Okay, so the same thing I'm going to try to do on the side here. See if it's blending okay. Make sure it doesn't look choppy when you do it. Blending. I'm actually gonna fix some of the blemishes too on her cheek, like okay, there. Right. So keep going until you have kind of the spot healing brush. You should have a little cleanness. Now here already, I've noticed if I'm working on it, it's kind of coming out more blurry. So I'll leave it alone. So when I'm happy here, I'm gonna move on with my other tools. So I'm gonna go actually with patch tool. So remember, patch tool allows you to select the area. Sometimes less is more, so don't try to go big selection. And see now, it's not looking right. So I mean, when it's not looking right, you can do Command Option Z, step back. Sometimes you have to click that up a few times and do small patches at a time. You just kind of have to get an idea how far to go in, because there are lashes in here too. So what the healing brush is doing, it's reading the values around it and it's blending it. That make sense? So I'm going to go a little bit here maybe. Yeah, that's better. So, okay. I'm going to do some at a time. Okay. And I can see here it needs to be blended. I'm going to select the side here. Okay, so mine is pretty much done on one side. Just make sure everything is blended. Okay. You can always go back between different tools and see if it's something is sticking out not right. You can always use different tools. Now I selected to smooth it out a little bit more. I'm selecting the healing brush tool. Right. So notice how this side of the face now is much smoother now than this side. Okay. So again, it's up to you. Whichever one you want to use. So right now I'm doing, okay, I went too far to the eye. I'm doing the healing brush. So So I sample area close to it and I'm just going in. Seems to work well. You see what I'm doing with this one, the healing? So you want to sample something a little bit lower and then keep going. See if I can zoom in a little bit more. Now make sure it looks smooth around here. You don't want to have different color shades of color. It's gonna pick it up. Okay. And we will increase the bracket. Now here the hair is happening, so always be careful when you are retouching where it's different colors are coming in, because it will pick up from those colors too, so be very careful. So okay, you can already see that the spot just picks the spot and it kind of reads the values around it. The healing brush allows you to sample an area that is clean and kind of blend it with the one you're selecting, and the patch tool allows you to draw a little selection, right? Draw a little selection around it and then move it and blend it. So now we're not done yet. I don't know how your eyes are looking. Mine are like this. Well, we're gonna fix a little bit here on the sides. This usually happens when you get a little older. It's not called sagging, but it is. So we actually will smooth this out as well, right? So we're gonna smooth this out. And I'm going to try to see how it's going to look with my just regular spot healing brush. And notice I'm going very small strokes. Now if I went here, I don't like what it's doing. It's kind of blending it kind of funny. So then I'm going to go back and see if my healing brush tool will work better on here. And I'm very close to the selection. Now it doesn't look right either. So that's why you play with the tools, knowing which ones would sample it the best. So I'm just going to do that and then move it up. So this kind of looks like a shadow, part of the shadow, right? So we're not going to go all the way down, but I'm going to remove this as well. I'm drawing it out and then I'm going up. See how it's smoother now on this side? Now we have to do the same thing on the other side. So for this, honestly, you can do this whole image using just patch selection tool. The image you got from me as a reference, I only use the patch selection tool on that one. But I'm showing you different techniques. Okay, let's see, where is my side? Now we can also whiten her teeth. Maybe actually do that, that'll be extra step. Alright, so let me select this part. Let's move that out. We don't want to have too much. You still want to have some natural lines happening, but very diminished lines. So she's a little bit smoother now. I hope yours is looking better. Now I've noticed some things around the eyes that I need to smooth out. Maybe she was wearing glasses or something. Here, you see that? It's kind of darker. So I'm just going to select that and then drag it down here, and it's going to smooth it out, like make it lighter. Just around the eyes. Okay. So there she is. We have done this one. What we're going to do next is we will fix those teeth. Okay, we need to add a little bit of whiteness to them. So there are different ways, different techniques of doing this. There's no wrong and right technique. And some things we're going to feature. So first thing, what we're going to do, we need to actually select it. Okay. So now the different selection tools come into play. When you look up on your tools, you zoom into the tools right here, you can see that the top tools are really selection tools, and we have different kinds of selection tools, right? Now for this one, I'm going to try and see if the quick selection tool work for me. Now the brush is too big, so I'm going to use my left bracket to make it smaller and see if I can select some of the teeth. Okay, You're just clicking on it. So notice I kind of select all the white area with my selection. And the reason why I just want to select it, because this is the area I want to work on, changing the color of it. Right? That is one way of doing it. So with that, you can actually affect the color. Remember, it has a lot of yellow, so you would add the opposite. So if you go under Image, Adjustments, okay, and we have different things. We have Hue Saturation, Color Balance, Black and White, Photo Filter, Channel Mixer, and Lookup. Okay, my favorite is Channel Mixer, one of my favorite. Anybody else has a preference? Those who work Photoshop? We're gonna remove some of the yellow. That's what I started with, okay? Maybe Channel Mixer. I'll show you another technique in a minute. So don't try to do this yet. You can, but you probably undo. Just look. So now notice what we're working with. If I move the slider, look what happens. Now we don't want that, right? Because that is not looking natural. So you have presets which never work, or you can go into different shades and kind of play with those. If you remove the red, that's too much. So maybe this would not be the best one to use. You can also try if you want to be monochrome, but then she looks dead in her mouth. Okay, so we don't want that. Looks black and white, yeah, but there's gray in there. Now, you can actually, I need to undo, cancel, best way. So you can also go, channel mixer, you can actually mix the channels, so it's going to come out the way you want it. You can lighten it up, and you can always play with the opposite colors. That makes it more yellow. Maybe, yeah, that looks good. So I actually don't use this technique. I love channel mixer, but for this, it may not be the best thing to use, okay? Now, other options you have, and always look at what is working with color and what you are doing, okay? We have hue saturation, so let's try that one. Because what you can do is you can light it up a little bit, right? So you can actually remove some of the whiteness. And then you can go with the hue a little bit more towards another shade. Kind of make it a little bit less yellow. You see that? See the difference? You see I went a little bit? Okay. So that's one way. That's another way you can actually do that. Right? Now I'm just going to leave it back in preview. Now saturation obviously makes it more or less saturated. Just be careful though. If you go low saturation, again it becomes black and gray. Black and white and grays. So, right, another way still. So adjustments obviously work with adjusting color in your image. Right, you have color balance. Just another way. Color balance, it tells you if the image, looking at, this is a highlight. We look at highlights first. It's going to tell you if the image has too much yellow and you want to add more blue, you would drag it. Notice what happens with the teeth when I do this. You see how they're getting lighter already? Because I'm adding more blue, removing the yellow. So this may actually work better. So it's like the opposite, right? If you have a lot of yellow, you want to add more blue. You can do the same thing with the midtones, but be very careful because if too much, look what happens. That's why I don't prefer to work with the midtones. Midtones, usually I do highlights on teeth. Right. So that would be maybe a best way for you to use. Okay, so you can do OK, and you can see Command D deselect. Now, and there's another way still. So this is another way. It's a little bit wider. It looks kind of fake, but that's okay. All right, and there's another way. So I'm going to step back to her yellow teeth. And this step requires you of using your tools. And under Dodge, Burn, and Sponge.
I love the Dodge.
Okay. Well, I actually use this allow you to touch up the images, kind of personal thing. You can actually use automated thing. So I think Dodge is the lighter, right? I always confuse Dodge and Burn. So one of them is lighter, one is darker. Yeah, so make sure midtones, I'm going to check on the top. When I selected, Dodge is lighter. So I'm going to select my range, it will be highlight. But look what happens to it. Did you see what happened to the teeth? it's not making it any wider. So if I do, so it just makes it, okay, now I do midtones. It looks a little wider, but is it still yellow? Maybe not on the screen. On the screen looks good. Okay, for me, it looks wider, yes. We did bleach them, but you still need to change the color. So what I would do, either change the color first or do this step. So we use the dodge tool. We set it up at midtones. Exposure 41. Now the highest exposure, notice what happens. It's gonna be like, and you want to be very careful where you go with it anyway. I'm kind of not being careful. I usually go around the mid so you kind of see what it's doing. Because you don't want to make sure you don't select anything that's not, you don't want to whiten up in the middle of her teeth there. So, and then I'm going to go under image when I'm done, adjustments, and maybe in this case do color balance, and then go to my highlights and move the slider a little bit down towards the blue. And now her teeth are lighter and they're not as yellow, if you can see. Okay? And at this point, you want to save your work. But we're almost done with this image. So the last step would be actually looking back to my layers. I'm going to look at the top layer and I will drop my fill. By the way, the difference between opacity and fill is the fill changes the transparency within a specific layer. Opacity changes between them. It pretty much does the same thing. Okay, and so I'm going to kind of lower it because I want to show some wrinkles. I don't want to make her completely plastic. So we are at, let me see, how many percent that was? I probably put around 65. So I want to show a little bit of wrinkles, a little bit of some definition on the side, okay? I don't want to make it completely plastic. So go ahead and drop that. And when you're done, you'll be saving this image. And the way you're going to save this image, save as, okay? You will put the image inside your new folder that you created within that folder with your last name. And you will name it at the end. I'm going to put complete. Okay, and it's going to be a TIFF file. So complete, or completed. I don't care, complete. And TIFF, save it, LZW compression, and then do OK. And you're done with this file.